Good morning, welcome to CATEX TV. My name is Frank Fortunato. Today is Tuesday, December 18th, 2012. I'd like to greet an avid viewer in Bangalore, India, Suresh, who has been communicating with us. Welcome aboard. The Russian Defense Ministry says a Navy squadron is now on its way through the Black Sea, through the Dardanelles Straits, heading to the Mediterranean Sea. This is a mission that comes amidst official talks about a possible evacuation of Russian personnel from Syria. The Russian military base of Tartus, Syria, is the only port outside the former Soviet Union. There are a number of military personnel there, and diplomatic personnel from Damascus would presumably be evacuated to Tartus. Also, NBC News has just released information that its chief foreign correspondent, Richard Engel, and 3 members of his production crew had been kidnapped in Syria for 5 days. He was released or escaped from captivity last night. It's not clear which. It's also not clear who kidnapped them. Mr. Engel is now back in safe hands, presumably in Beirut. This continues to highlight the very dangerous condition in Damascus. More Hurricane Sandy fallout. Bermudian reinsurer Axis has declared post-tax net losses of $300 million from Sandy. London-listed Catlin is coming in at a pre-tax loss of $200 million. Hiscox is saying $145 million, and Nove syndicates are saying as much as $30 million. The announcements from Catlin, Hiscox, and Nove now indicate that Lloyd's is going to release a market-wide loss number before the end of the week, possibly within the next 24 hours. Lloyd's had been getting some push from a number of managing agents saying don't release the information. However, Lloyd's apparently has decided that they're going to come out with it. Asbestos is back in the news. AM Best is indicating that U.S. insurers may face another $11 billion more in asbestos-related claims costs than they were anticipating. The insurance industry has already paid out more than $51 billion in claims tied to asbestos over the past 25 years, and they've set aside another $23 billion for future expenses, but according to AM Best, the total could actually reach as high as $85 billion. Asbestos has not been used in the United States since the 1970s, but due to the long latency period in developing illnesses, these claims continue. There was a shift in the government in Hamilton, Bermuda last night. The Progressive Labor Party's 14-year reign on power is ended. In fact, the Prime Minister, Paula Cox, lost her seat. She was defeated by some 93 votes. It seems as if the next premier-elect in Bermuda is going to be a Craig Cannonier. Mr. Cannonier has been a member of Parliament for only 13 months. Ms. Cox was magnanimous in defeat. She said it's disappointing, but the voters spoke. Japan has been peppered now with a number of earthquakes over the past 8 or 9 days. It seems as if 177 relatively significant earthquakes have peppered the area since November 27th. The last 5.0 quakes hit at approximately 4:20 p.m. today, Japanese time. According to the U.S. Geological Survey, the quake had a depth of 20 miles and struck just off the east coast of the island of Honshu. This is a relatively shallow quake. Geologists are saying that this could presage a large quake in the very near future. One geologist is predicting a 7.9 magnitude earthquake off Honshu within the next 6 months. In London, there was a surprise guest today at the regular cabinet meeting. Sitting between the Prime Minister David Cameron and the Foreign Secretary William Hague was none other than Queen Elizabeth II, attending her first cabinet meeting in her 60-year reign. The government said the Queen attended the meeting as an observer, not a contributor. It's raised some eyebrows, apparently, appearing to blur the line between the government and the monarchy. As the head of state, the Queen performed some ceremonial duties, but must remain neutral on political matters. It does not know whether or not she said anything or not. Well, this is not a surprise. The May 2012 Russian passenger jet crash of the so-called Sukhoi Superjet 100 in Indonesia when it was on a marketing trip has now been firmly ascertained to have been due to pilot error. This is according to the National Commission on Safety Transportation in Jakarta today. All 45 people aboard the plane were killed. The pilot in command was apparently chatting with a potential buyer in the cockpit just before the plane slammed into a dormant volcano on May 9th. 38 seconds before the crash, instruments inside the cockpit issued a warning saying, "Pull up, terrain ahead." Later in the morning, "Avoid terrain" was issued no fewer than 6 times, but the instruments were turned off because the pilots assumed that there was a problem with the database. Of course, nobody bothered to look out the window and notice the mountainous area surrounding the plane. The plane was flying at an altitude of 6,000 feet when it slammed into the mountain. It took another 17 minutes after the plane crashed into the mountain for the Indonesian air traffic controllers to recognize that the plane had vanished from its radar screens. Only then did they begin to send out the rescue parties. That's the news for today. If we have any breaking news, we'll come back and tell you. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow.